Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern Bay Area, world-famous juggler, Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, although a little sad not to see that Clerks intro today. It's good to be back to normal, though. But man, everything's great. How about yourself, Ozzy?
I'm good. And to your point about that, I was actually hoping, are we going to get Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham with like some random postcards and photos of us in random situations?
Oh, well, now you're making me look like I didn't do enough work.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
We used Holiday Road and the vacation poster on one of the old shows.
Yeah, I don't care though.
I didn't even.
I mean, I'll jump into one.
You know what?
But that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say if it's gonna be special, I can't do it 2 in a row.
I understand. I understand. Last week was a special occasion. I understand that completely, ladies and gentlemen. That last voice you heard was Flesh Wound producer Todd. Chilling. Yep. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this week we did have the pleasure of reviewing National Lampoon's Vacation. However, before jumping into this review, we have a slight addendum to last week's episode. We had so many good things to say about Clerks that as soon as we stopped recording, we had Greg say, "Duh! I should have told that story." So now, as an addendum, Greg, you have the floor.
All right. So for those of you who watch the video version of this podcast, you may have seen the Silent Bob hockey jersey that I was wearing. I'm a huge fan of hockey jerseys. There's this website, Geeky Jerseys, I've got a whole collection of, and every one of Geeky Jerseys hockey jerseys, the number on it has some significance to it, whether it be the year something came out or some reference in the movie, something along those lines. Well, it had been quite some time since I'd seen Clerks, and this was just a Kevin Smith jersey. It wasn't necessarily a Clerks specific. So I get the jersey and I see the number 37 on there. And I was like, man, what is the reference? I am just obviously not the year. Like, I don't know what it is. And so I called the secret staff in their store. And I said, hey, I was just curious, I just got the hockey jersey. What's the reference? And the guy was like, I don't know. Let me ask someone. I'll be right back. He leaves. And he comes back and he was just like, you're going to have to watch the movies to find out. I can't tell you. And it was just awkward. Like, I think he thought I was trying to prank him, but
sure.
I would have.
Yeah, I would have thought the same thing.
But pretty
All
intense.
Right. Glad you could share that with us this week, despite not being able to share it last week. At least it's out there, and at least we all
and if
gotta go.
And if you want to know what it means, you got to go watch the movie.
If you don't want to know what it means exactly, you got to go watch the movie. But that was last week's episode. This week we are reviewing, discussing National Lampoon's Vacation, released on July 29th, 1983. Todd, if you would please do the honors and give us the trailer. Bless.
This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation. See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
Great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Let Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo,
Mark.
Imogene Coca, Randy Quaid, John Candy, and Christy Brinkley.
Well, are you gonna go for it?
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Take you for a ride. This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation.
Better check under the hood.
Yeah. This is a definite childhood favorite of mine, and I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. I saw this way too early than I should have. But it's such a classic for me. Directed by Harold Ramis and written by John Hughes off of a short story, Vacation 58, spawned this movie. But in terms of initial thoughts, this was one of the movies that kickstarted the 2-week rule. And I know that rules in movies for me, like as a child, seems like, wait, but you still saw this movie. Yeah. The 2-week rule when I was a child was, so let's say I would watch this movie on June 1st. I couldn't watch it for another 2 weeks because I kept watching the same movies over and over again. This was one of those movies that I'd watch.
Now, on that day, could you watch it as many times as you want until the next 2 weeks?
No, because it was like a one-time viewing. It wasn't like a day pass. No, it was like a one-time viewing. Then you can't do it for another 14 days. It was my mom's way of making me watch more movies, and that was somewhat successful because obviously here we are.
That's awesome.
So, but again, initial thoughts, like just hearing the opening credit, the music by Lindsey Buckingham, Holiday Road, like that just puts me in a good mood just because I associate that with my childhood. Greg, how about initial thoughts from you?
I mean, this is always a fun movie. Most National Lampoon movies during this era were always at least fun, whether they were all 5-star hits, not necessarily, but man, you always had a good time watching them. And this definitely doesn't fall short on that. There's definitely some lies in this film and some great truths that I'm excited to discuss in a bit. But yeah, all around, had a great time watching this movie again.
And producer Todd.
I also saw this younger than I probably should have. I don't remember if I saw the TV versions first or second, but I remember some of the bad loops, so I might have watched it after.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've always loved this one. It's definitely another one. It's another one I watched the series in when we hit quarantine at the beginning. So I got to watch it again. So that's always fun.
This is one that I didn't have to really take notes on. It was so just ingrained in my head. Like I could actually recite the lines of the movie if need be, because it was hitting a lot of them as I was watching them. But
now you can't watch it for 2 weeks though, Ozzy, remember.
Right. It's tempting. It is available on HBO Max, so it does make it a bit more difficult. Now here's before I jump into favorite lines, I just have a bit of a gripe with Warner Brothers, aside from the obvious and the whole comic book thing. But when it comes to this movie, because when I first saw it, it was recorded off of Cinemax. And I don't know what the theatrical version had, but there's 3 scenes featuring Christy Brinkley. Christy Brinkley being a model that appears as Clark Griswold, played by Chevy Chase, is driving the truckster. There's 2 scenes in particular where she's driving a sports car. And there's one scene where they're having a picnic and she's off in the distance. The song that played, or rather, the song that would play in her driving the sports car in the version that I watched was "I'm So Excited" by the Pointer Sisters. And it fit with the scene because they were driving fast. However, I think that cost too much money to pay for streaming. So they switched all 3 of the Christy Brinkley scenes to the same song, which sucks. It doesn't work for those because those scenes don't hit as well as they used to. Like it now I see how, I mean, well, not just this movie, but it's important to have the right music for the scenes. And that was the right song for those scenes in the car.
Absolutely. And that's like the licensing thing. It sucks, but I think it's just digital, like you were saying, because like it's on like the physical media.
The DVDs and
yeah, it's
well, actually, here's the fun. I'm sorry. But just to cut you off, is that the DVD version has them inversed. So instead of the Pointer Sisters, "I'm So Excited" happening twice in the car scenes, "I'm So Excited" only happens in that picnic scene. And then that other song that happened in the picnic scene happens both times in the DVD version that I have. And that's really annoying because it's like, wait, no, that song doesn't. I'm so excited. She's eating a sandwich. Like, how is this
on a road trip? Sandwiches are fantastic. Okay.
Are they all bologna and cheese with dog urine? Now going into favorite scenes and lines, it's really tough to pick one because this also has great subtlety, and specifically after the car's launched, after a road closed sign and everything's wrecked, Clark has a talk with his son, who's played by Anthony Michael Hall, who later went on to play all sorts of different roles. But you see Clark has his glasses on, and as he's talking, they just kind of fall apart and they just fall off, and it doesn't faze him, or he doesn't care. But that kind of subtlety is just, it's fun to watch. But I believe when the attempted funeral is made and the sermon Clark gives probably hit me the hardest. and though Hindus speak of karma, I employ give her a break. But what I also love, and it was really hard to separate what my favorite line is, because I also saw this movie multiple times with my sister. That would be like a summer movie that we would watch, and I still hear her laughter on some of these lines, like after him trying to do the sermon, and she says, "We love this woman with all our heart. Let's not overdo it, Mom. Shut up." Like that always cracked her up, but I could still hear her laughter. So that's also probably a bonus that I got with this movie. So, but still, Clark attempting that sermon there is definitely my favorite moment of the film. How about you, Greg?
Man, Ozzy, I was a little nervous because there was one line in this film that I died laughing. But the one you took was my backup, just in case, because I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be taken. But there's a moment where things have gotten crazy. They're tired, they're exhausted, they're low on funds. And his wife says, maybe we should just turn around. And Clark just says, "I think you're all fucked in the head." And how matter of fact. And then there's a tirade, but just that first line alone.
Wait, hold on. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just that first line of it was just so like matter of fact with this crazy eye that I lost it. It was fantastic.
I have to apologize, but I would feel I'd be doing a disservice, because if there is anything I learned out of those multiple times from watching that movie, it would be that the exact lines are as follows: "I think you're all fucked in the head. We're 10 hours from the fucking fun park and you want to bail out. Well, I'm going to tell you something. This is no longer vacation. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. I'm going to have fun and you're going to have fun. We're all going to have so much fucking fun. We're going to be singing. We're going to have plastic surgeons removing our goddamn smiles. We're going to be singing Zippity Doo-Dah out of our assholes. I can't believe this. I'm on a pilgrimage to see a moose. Praise Marty Moose." Oh, shit. Are you okay, Dad? Don't touch.
I think that's the origins of Ozzy. That's how he talks about
I told you, age 5, 2 weeks. Think about it. Think about it. But to that point, that was always a favorite scene of mine. But when it came to actually making me laugh, that was when I had a tough time separating. Is that one that I laughed because my sister was laughing so hard? Because I would laugh at hard. And was I just laughing because of the cursing? Because at a young age, like anybody dropping the F-bomb, like busted, because like I wasn't supposed to hear it. Right. So when every time I heard it, I'd be like, I said it. Right. So I couldn't distinguish that this time around. But the sermon line, that's when I knew, like, okay, yeah, I like this for that comedy line, because it's almost like the Steve Martin thing. Like, if it can be funny without the curse words, then it's funny. But anyhow, I digress. It's still funny all around. I'm sorry. I felt the need to defend my decision. It's just that I didn't want any other scene or line to feel hurt or feel left out. I love all these lines and scenes. Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
All right. Well, first,
is it the shower scene?
No, that's I'm not going to hate that scene, but it is not.
It was my first pair of breasts I ever saw. You always remember.
Not a bad first.
No, it's a perfect situation because it's in a comedy.
We won't tell Mr. De Niro, but we'll move on. I did do a little research real quick, and actually the 2 instances of I'm So Excited that were replaced by Little Boy Sweet, also by June Pointer, so there is at least a connection, but it was only on the first VHS release, which it probably shouldn't have been because the licensing was weird then. So that there's a lot of Universal releases that are affected by these music rights. That now that's where they cite everything in, all future formats, so they don't have to deal with, having to relicense.
We'll go with the least popular song.
No,
the cheapest option available.
Right. That's what has, like, a lot of TV shows from that era, all songs are replaced, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Sure.
Favorite line. Okay. I had favorite line and favorite scene. So
let's hear them both.
Okay. Well, do I just say the first line and then you take over on the line part? Maybe.
We'll see.
All right. And this is it. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm going steady and I French kiss.
So everybody does that. Yeah, but Daddy says I'm the best at it. Oh man, that was a line that I didn't get till later in life. But interestingly enough,
I didn't either.
Cousin Vicky, played by Jane Krakowski,
who,
when she was being advertised all over the place for being a new member of the cast 30 Rock, when that was happening, I had no idea, like, what's the big deal? Until, like, looking up, it's like, oh wow, that's crazy. She was like really young in that movie. So great. No, like, man, no, this movie's just filled with all these great lines. And one thing before I give it the rating that I want to give it, I want to specifically point out something that wasn't specifically from a comedy perspective, but just from a movie perspective, is that, okay, everybody should have seen this movie by now. So when they're at Wally World and it's been closed and Clark is holding Russ Lasky, John Candy's character, hostage as they're riding the rides, you have the scenes, sorry, the shots I appreciated so much is where you would see on one side of the screen Clark with the gun on the security guard and him looking around while his wife and his kids are having a good time. And to me, that visual is just like, wow, that's kind of sweet, like, but it just made it feel a little bit more natural that, like, Clark would be like, okay, you guys have fun. I'll keep the lookout. Right. And so I'd have to give this a 5 just because every scene just feels like a sketch and it just flows. And this movie just puts me in a good mood. Like, similarly, last week, Todd was saying, I just saw Clerks I just saw Clerks last night and I could see it again tomorrow. That I could say that about National Lampoon's Vacation. Just that opening intro and seeing Eugene Levy in the very beginning as well. Like, that's also fun. Like, man, that song just puts me in a good mood. So yeah, definitely 5 for me. Greg?
So some truth that I actually I mentioned a truth and a lie in this movie. Now, truth wise, I looked up, I'm guessing I used Chicago, Illinois, and then Six Flags, because that's, I believe, where the theme park was that they shot Wally World at, even though it seemed more a parody of Disneyland. And it's actually 2,036 miles. So roughly around the mileage that they actually said in the film. And I appreciated that.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the lie that bothered me. If you are caught in a pool naked with a woman and you're married, your wife isn't going to be like, I get it. Let's go have fun ourselves. I'm sorry. That is the most unbelievable moment.
Now, hold on a second. To be fair, the title of the short story was Vacation 58, maybe in reference to 1958 when perspectives were, you know, a lot more in one particular slant. And I could see that. It could see that happening in 1958.
Possibly.
2021, no chance in hell.
Yo, no. But as a whole, this movie, I did have a lot of fun. I laughed a lot. It does have moments for me where it does drag a little bit. I do feel it's a little dated. So I can't give it a 5. I have to give it a 4 on this one, unfortunately. But I did enjoy it. I'll always enjoy this movie. But it does have its moments where it does slow down a bit too much for me.
I'm showing my inner Raider fan by holding a plastic knife.
No, your inner Raider fan would have a regular knife.
No, dude, haven't you seen the YouTube videos of the Raider fan stabbing somebody with a plastic knife?
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a discussion for
you can send it to me later.
All right, sorry.
Well,
Todd's
since Ozzy blew by, like when I was going to say my favorite bit earlier, and I guess I'll say.
Did I?
Yes, I said my favorite line, but not my favorite.
Oh, right, because we talked about the lines, and we did the role playing.
And it's not even my favorite because you guys kind of nailed some. Like the Barstow bit is like hilarious when he's like talking to the bartender, and then he, shoots, and then he starts laughing. But my favorite bit is the dog bit. I'll go back and get the collar. Oh, God, that is so. I die every time. That's hilarious. Whole movie's great. And Ozzy, I got your back. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Thank you. At least somebody's rational around here. Now, real quick, can we talk about that dog scene? Because watching it again now, I'm trying to think. Because do you ever notice what Clark had said the night before? Like when him and Ellen are like in the sleeping bag and the dog's biting the sleeping bag, he finally like gets the dog away and he says, "I swear I'm going to kill that dog." And then I was like, "Oh wow, I never really caught that line."
Yeah.
And then like he has him up, and yet like and then I even went back in the scene. I watched the scene again where he grabs it and just like kind of analyzing it from like did he really do it on purpose? Because watching his reaction with the cop. Like obviously he didn't care about the dog. So what happened to the dog? He's, trying to fake an emotion for the officer. But I thought from one perspective, like, what if he did it on purpose? And that was like, oh no, you wouldn't think that I did this on purpose, do you? Like, it was fun to play with that in my head because I honestly couldn't come up with a definitive answer. How do you guys feel?
I feel like he did it on accident, but he wasn't upset about it.
Got it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Definitely an accident, but like didn't care. But it was brilliant his reaction with that cop. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't get enough facial expressions from Chevy Chase. That's for damn sure. Now, this does conclude. I don't have anything else for this movie. You guys have anything else for this?
No. I'm just curious what movie you saw way too young for next week.
Actually, sneak peek to next week is going to be the Broken Lizard film Super Troopers. And I did not watch Super Troopers until later in life. And this time that I recently saw it was probably my second time ever watching it. Also after a series of experiences, which definitely changed my perspective of the film, which will be left to next week, where we will be reviewing and discussing Super Troopers. But right now, this episode has concluded. That is Flesh Wound producer Todd. That is world famous juggler Greg Larson. And I'm Ozzy V. See you next week right here on Flesh Wound Farce.